Going to do a screen capture here so I can show you guys the software side of this puzzle without having to write reams of paragraphs of material. So navigate your browser over to obsproject.com. This is the open broadcaster software. Supports various platforms, as you can see here. I'm using the product on Mac OS. So once you get this downloaded and installed, you can open the software and you will see here the setup that I am using to teach a course, Leading Safe in this particular example. So it doesn't take long to figure out how to work with the system. It's pretty intuitive. There's a concept of scenes, which you will use to do transitions to different setups or sources or stages that you have in your home office setup. And then the sources themselves can be of various types, as you can see here on this menu. I have chosen to set up this bar-based presentation format for Microsoft PowerPoints, and I'm using the Agile Rising logo with a transparency, my iMac's built-in camera, as you can see me here, hello, and then of course a source for the actual PowerPoint that I'm sharing. Now, for the PowerPoint, you're going to want to do some particular configurations. I'm going to exit out of the presentation mode. This is actually a presentation mode, which I'm going to show you, and show you how to do the setup. You'll want to navigate to slideshow if you're on a Mac, and slide setup, and then rather than choosing the normal presented by a speaker with a multi-windowed or multi-monitor format, you'll choose browse by an individual or windowed format and click OK. From there, you will be able to start the presentation and it'll open up in a window. This is important because we need to capture and present only this window within OBS to share the output to the program that we're creating. One side note is that you do lose speaker's notes, so hopefully you know the material and you don't need the cues from the speaker notes. So let's go back over to OBS, and you'll see if I click over here and advance a slide, if you look in the preview window on OBS, you'll see that there's a slight delay, but the slides are actually shown, as you can see there, when we navigate through the slides. So once you have your primary view scene set up, which is one that I use for teaching, I have these objects locked in the tool. You can also hide them by clicking the eyeball icon, or you can unlock them. If I unlock them, the interface opens up the adjustment tool, and I can then drag these to be whatever size I wish. I did choose to set it up like this so that we have the bars, so that it freed up space for me to be in the frame without any problems with background colors or the color of my shirt. As you can see, I'm wearing a black shirt today, so it blends in and gives this unusual effect. If you wear lighter covered clothes and differentiate, your green screen will allow you to actually show a saturation that's different so that it can tell the difference between you and the screen, and you'll see your entire clothing apparatus. So this is how you set up a basic scene. You would go and create a new scene, give it a name, and then within that scene you would add your various sources that you want to use. In my case, a video capture device, and I have existing ones that I've already set up. You could create a new one, and then you choose a device from the available list. I actually have a USB AVIO 4K video capture card that captures any HDMI source. That is not a necessity. It's a rather expensive piece of hardware, but I'm using it for another job that we're working on with my daughter. But you could choose FaceTime camera, or CamTwist is a software virtual cam tool that I also determined that I do not need, but choose one of your hardware-based cameras. You can see the preview of me in front of my green screen. Click OK, and I now have a source for this scene. I can also then go and select a window capture for a particular PowerPoint or whatever. So I could choose a PowerPoint as an example, create a new one. And then this shows all the windows that are available on my system. And I could choose Microsoft PowerPoint here in the list, which is the slideshow from lesson 2 in Lean Safe. And then click OK. And as you can see in this new scene, I now have a PPT and the video capture. But there's a problem. My video is behind the PowerPoint. So this works with layers, just like most video editing or photo editing software. All you do is adjust that, and then I can move the pieces around on the board and make them larger or smaller as I will. Now, in order to get the chroma key effect, you have to do a little bit of filtering on your video capture device. So you'll want to right click on your video capture device, go to filters, and you're going to be adding an effect filter for this simple example. And you'll add a chroma key, give it a name if you want, and then you will adjust the similarity, and so that you don't wind up with any of the extreme saturations that don't make any sense or make it fuzzy looking on the video feed. So somewhere around 417. The green line is fairly minimal, so I'll just leave it somewhere around 422. Once you get this, you will notice that my green screen is only 6 feet wide, so it's actually catching part of the frame. So what you'll want to do, I have a 27-inch iMac, is adjust your frame so that you're more in line with the middle of your green screen. So you can see if I move this back and forth. And it depends on your camera, how it's built in. Mine's a little oddball, so the iMac is actually not even parallel with my shoulders right now, which is, it feels weird, but it's okay. Next, we'll go to a crop or a pad, and we'll create a crop or a pad. And we will then start to cut in the scene so that it actually fits the frame. So we're going to be somewhere around let's say 250 or more to cut in the left frame so that I stay within the green screen. Oh, we're going to be closer to 300 now. All right, so we're good on the left, and we'll go to the right and cut it in 200 to see where we're at. So that's pretty close. So as you can see, we can adjust it back and forth until we get a frame that makes sense and close that. So now the chroma key is actually working, so my transparency can be overlaid over the slides, and I can put it into the corner. And I'm happy with that now, so I'll go ahead and lock that and then go over to the PowerPoint, and you'll notice that the slide is much larger than the preview window from OBS. So you'll want to adjust this size to make it fit within the screen. And you can adjust that OBS preview size if you wish. It will scale properly when you do a zoom or whatever later, so it's not a big deal. And then we will cut over to this other scene. And you can see that we now have our scene set up. Now, if you want to add logos or any other information, which you could do different scenes for different lessons, etc., you could have other information in the surround. Your mileage may vary on how you want to set your scene up, but this is the basics of how OBS works in order to set up your casting of your program to your tool of choice. So next, we're going to want to actually display this somewhere. So your tools may be different. I'm going to show you guys in Microsoft Teams. If I click over to Microsoft Teams and I click Share, you'll see that I have different options here. And one of those options will be OBS. And right now, it's only showing me the studio window. So we're not quite there yet. We also don't want to show the PowerPoint. So we have to go back to OBS, right-click on the program, and go to Windowed Projector. You don't want to choose full screen because then you won't be able to navigate and do other options with the PowerPoint. And on a Mac, at least, I will left-click and hold down on the title bar and drag the windowed projector out onto another area of the screen. And I now have a separate window, aka windowed projector. From this window projector, I will now go back to Microsoft Teams, reload the share, and you'll now see the window projector option here, and I will choose that. And now you can see the red outline on this is what I'm actually displaying to all of my students or attendees in my Microsoft Teams meeting. Okay. Let's escape out of this and hang up. And we'll try the same exact concept with Zoom. So one thing of note, in the various tools, whether you use MS Teams or Zoom, don't start your video because your video feed is already going to be projected through OBS as the camera built into the source in your OBS setup. So don't start your video, just share your screen and choose the OBS projected window. Once again, here in Zoom you can see I have the same option. And I can choose to share that, and now I'm actually sharing the same thing via a Zoom window rather than a MS Teams window. And I predict that this is the same way it would work in all of the various video teleconferencing tools. So this is how you can use OBS to share your overlays and PowerPoints, or any other source for that matter, on your computer or otherwise